There are days when I wake up and don't want to do anything. Everything feels meaningless: work, studying, even the goals I once chased with passion. But over time, I realized it's not because I'm weak or incapable, it's simply because I've lost motivation. And that made me start asking, what truly keeps us going? How do we hold on to the energy to move forward, even when things feel heavy? That was when I began my own journey to understand motivation, the quiet yet powerful force that can change the course of our lives. I used to think that motivation came from obvious things, like a clear goal, an inspiring person, or a success I was eager to achieve. But as I grew older, I realized there's a quieter, more subtle source of motivation that often goes unnoticed: imagination and the subconscious mind. There was a time, during exam season, when I was exhausted and overwhelmed. I lay on my bed, music playing softly, and let my mind drift into a world I imagined I had passed everything. I was standing on stage receiving my diploma, and my parents were smiling with pride. No one taught me to imagine these things, but I did, and strangely, I felt calm afterward, even motivated to get back to studying. That's when I realized, imagination isn't just childish daydreaming, it's my subconscious speaking up, telling me, you can do it. Our subconscious is like a hidden engine. It remembers everything we go through, senses what we feel, and reflects it back through emotions, behaviors, even dreams. When we imagine success or happiness, our brain doesn't know it's not real. It reacts as if we're actually living it. And in that way, imagination becomes a bridge between who we are and who we want to be, giving us energy to act in the present. I've learned that sometimes, all it takes is to sit quietly, close my eyes, and picture a better version of myself, or a positive outcome, and somehow, that tiny act can reignite a little spark inside. Because in the darkness of exhaustion, the first light always comes from within. Now, whenever I feel lost or drained of motivation, I no longer rush to look for answers outside myself. Instead, I slow down, just a little, and listen to my subconscious, to the part of me that still dares to imagine. Because the truth is, motivation doesn't always come from something big. Sometimes, imagining a stronger version of yourself is enough to lift you up from a dark day. And I believe that if we learn to nurture our imagination and listen closely to our inner voice, we will always find a way, no matter how long or winding the path, to return to ourselves and to keep going. Now I will analysis for deep this matter. 1. The illusion of external motivation. We're often taught to believe that motivation is external, triggered by a TED Talk, a successful role model, or a goal written on our vision board. And yes, those things help, but they don't last. They spark something momentary, like lighting a match in the wind. Without something deeper anchoring that flame, it dies out fast. That deeper anchor? Imagination, and the subconscious mind. 2. The power of imagination, not just fantasy. One evening, drained and hopeless before an exam, I gave up studying. I lay down, music in the background, and just let my mind drift. I imagined myself succeeding. I saw the stage, the applause, my parents smiling with tears in their eyes. I didn't do this to manifest anything. I wasn't thinking in terms of strategy. I was just escaping. But something changed. That mental image stirred something real. Within minutes, I found myself sitting up again, this time with a strange peace and renewed will to keep going. What I realized is this: imagination is not a childish escape. It's a subconscious rehearsal of possibility. It's your mind saying, look, this version of you exists. Maybe not yet, but it can. 3. The role of the subconscious, the silent partner. Your subconscious mind is always listening, even when you're not. It stores everything you've seen, felt, feared, and hoped for. It governs your habits, your beliefs, and your emotional responses. Here's the fascinating part. When you imagine something vividly, your subconscious doesn't distinguish between fantasy and reality. Brain scans show that imagining an act, like practicing a piano piece or running a race, activates nearly the same brain regions as actually doing it. So, when you imagine yourself succeeding, overcoming, thriving, you're not just daydreaming. You're training your mind to believe that this version of you is possible. You're feeding your subconscious a new blueprint. And when the subconscious accepts that blueprint, it starts influencing your thoughts, decisions, and energy, without you even realizing it. 4. From imagination to action, the invisible bridge. People often think motivation must come before action. But I've learned that sometimes it's the other way around. A simple act, like imagining your future self, can shift your mindset and create the emotional state you need to act now. It's like planting a seed in your mind. You water it with repetition, with belief, and slowly, it becomes a force, a quiet force, but powerful enough to get you out of bed. Powerful enough to try again. Conclusion: a quiet revolution within. Now, when I feel stuck or burned out, I don't panic, I don't rush to find the next productivity hack. Instead, I sit quietly, I close my eyes, and I imagine. Not because imagining fixes everything, but because it reconnects me with the version of myself that still wants to try. And that is enough. So if you're looking for motivation, not a burst, not a trend, but a real inner force, don't just look outside. Look inward, close your eyes, and imagine the version of you who didn't give up. Because sometimes, motivation isn't loud or visible. Sometimes, it's just a whisper inside your subconscious, waiting for your imagination to listen.